Hi guys, thanks for joining us and welcome to this week's episode of Saint of the Week. Now this week's saint is a phenomenal young woman who died when she was just 11 years old. Her story is one of great sadness, but the message from her story is one that should fill us all with hope. Her name is St Maria Goretti, and here's 5 things you need to know about her. So St Maria was born in Italy in the late 1800s. She came from an incredibly poor family, and when she was 9 years old, her father sadly died. Her mother took on working at a farm, and St Maria, despite only being 9 years old, had to look after her own house and a couple of other houses nearby, cooking and cleaning, whilst her mother was out working. Number 2. When she was just 11 years old, a man from a nearby farm took an interest in her, and he attempted to assault her. She resisted his attempts, but sadly, he stabbed her, and a couple of days later, she died. Her final words, however, were, "I forgive Alessandro. I want him to join me in heaven." Number 3. St Maria is remembered for this incredible act of mercy. She suffered horrendously, something that no one should ever have to suffer. And yet her response to that suffering was to forgive, to understand that God's love can overcome anything, and to offer her forgiveness. Alessandro was sentenced to 30 years in prison, and whilst in prison, inspired by Maria's forgiveness, he turned his life around. He became a committed Catholic, and when he was released from prison, he joined an order of monks and devoted his life to serving other people and to serving God. Number 4. When Maria was canonized in 1950, that's made a saint, over 500,000 people turned out, the most that had ever been to a canonization mass. In fact, the crowd was so big that they had to have the mass outside rather than inside the church, and that's where lots of those services now happen because of St Maria. At the time, she was the youngest saint ever to be made a saint, and also uniquely, her mother was able to be at that service, and she was the first person whose mother or father was able to be at their canonization. St Maria's attacker was also able to be there. Number 5. St Maria's story is really, really sad. She suffered horrendously and something that no one else should ever have to go through. But with her example of mercy and forgiveness, she inspires millions of people around the world. And Alessandro, the man who attacked her, was so inspired by her forgiveness that he changed his life around. And that tells us so much about God's love and mercy for all of us. None of us are ever too far from God. None of us are ever so far from God that we can't come back into his loving embrace. None of us have ever gone so far away from God that he won't welcome us back. Alessandro went as far away as it was possible to go, and yet God's love and mercy stretched over that gap and brought him back into the church, back into a loving embrace, and changed his life completely. So the message for us is that no matter what's going on in our lives, God is always there for us. God loves us. And St. Maria reminds us of the importance of forgiving, even when that feels like it should be impossible. St. Maria's life and her story is phenomenal. Someone so young could show so many people the power of mercy, love, and forgiveness. And I hope that story inspires you as much as it inspires me. So I hope you have a great week. See you again soon. Goodbye.